Okay, let's get right into it. We're going deep inside one of the most high-stakes situations in all of medicine, a cardiac arrest. The brand new 2025 guidelines have just fine-tuned the playbook, and we are going to break down the pure, cold logic of how a team fights to restart a human heart. First things first, forget everything you've seen in the movies, right? All those frantic, chaotic scenes. The reality? It's actually a super disciplined, systematic process. So what is really going on in that moment, and how do medical teams even begin to make sense of the chaos? And this right here is the absolute key. The new guidelines encourage us to see cardiac arrest not just as a medical crisis, but as an engineering problem. Seriously. The body is a machine, the heart is a stalled pump, and the goal is to get it running again. And that one shift in thinking, it changes everything.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the engine itself. Then we'll look at the two main ways it can fail. After that, we'll explore the tools they use to fix it. And finally, the detective work that's needed to find the root cause.
All right, part one, the stalled engine. You have to understand that the entire resuscitation attempt, every single decision that gets made from here on out, it all hinges on the answer to one single critical question.
And the answer to that question comes from this machine, the electrocardiogram, the ECG. Think of it as the team's dashboard. It gives them a real-time, live look at the heart's electrical grid. It's pretty much the only way they can know why the pump is stalled in the first place. And here it is. This is, without a doubt, the most important question in all of resuscitation science. Is the problem something we can shock or not? It's a simple yes or no, and the answer sends the team down one of two completely different treatment paths. So, let's break that down because this is the crucial point. A shockable rhythm means you have an electrical problem. Think of it like a software glitch in your computer. The engine's parts are all there, they're fine, but they're firing totally out of sync. The fix? A hard reboot. That's what a defibrillation shock is. But a non-shockable rhythm, that's a hardware problem. The engine itself is either broken or completely silent. A reboot is useless here. You have to find and fix the broken part. So let's go down that first pathway, shockable rhythms. This is what happens when the heart's incredibly precise electrical system just descends into total, utter anarchy.
This quote just nails it. It's the perfect description of something called ventricular fibrillation, or VF. It's not that the heart isn't trying. It's that every single cell is firing at once, all screaming for attention. The result is just this useless quiver. It's not pumping any blood. It's pure electrical chaos.
Now, it turns out there are actually two types of shockable rhythms. So you have VF, which is like an orchestra with no conductor, just total noise. Then you have pulseless VTAC, which is more like an engine that's stuck revving in neutral. It's organized, but it's spinning so incredibly fast that the gears can't engage to pump any blood. They look different on the screen, but at the end of the day, the problem is the same, and the solution is the same: defibrillate.
Okay, now let's look at that other path, non-shockable rhythms. This is the hardware problem we talked about. Where hitting that reboot button, the shock, isn't just useless, it can actually do more harm than good.
The most famous non-shockable rhythm, of course, is asystole, the flatline you see on TV. And this analogy says it all perfectly. You can't jumpstart a dead car battery, right? There's just no electricity left in the system to reset. The only hope is to do amazing CPR and give drugs to try and recharge it.
But asystole has this deceptive cousin called pulseless electrical activity, or PEA. And this is one of the toughest situations in a code. The ECG monitor might show what looks like a totally normal rhythm, but when you check, the patient has no pulse. The electrical system is working, but the mechanical pump has failed. It's exactly like an engine that's running perfectly, but the transmission is broken. You hear the noise, but the car isn't going anywhere. So, if a shock won't work for these non-shockable rhythms, and sometimes even fails in the shockable ones, what's next? Well, that brings us to the ACLS drug toolkit. The cornerstone, the big one, is epinephrine. Now, a lot of us think of it as a drug to jolt the heart back to life, but its main job is actually way more mechanical. It powerfully squeezes the body's blood vessels. This cranks up the blood pressure and shunts whatever little blood flow you're getting from CPR away from the arms and legs and back towards the two organs that matter most, the heart and the brain.
And this slide shows off a really smart update in the 2025 guidelines. The timing of when you give epinephrine is now much more specific. If the rhythm is non-shockable, remember, that's the hardware problem, you give it immediately to get that blood flowing. But if it's a shockable rhythm, the electrical software glitch, you actually wait. You try fixing the electrical problem with a shock or two first, because giving epi too early when the heart is electrically chaotic can sometimes make that storm even worse.
Now, for those really stubborn electrical storms that just don't respond to shocks, we bring in the antiarrhythmics. For years, a drug called amiodarone was pretty much the go-to, but the 2025 guidelines have made a huge change. Lidocaine is now considered an equal alternative. They both work to calm the heart's chaotic electrical system, just in different ways, and the evidence now shows they're equally effective. That gives teams a lot more flexibility.
Okay, so this brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. Especially in those cases of PEA, where the electricity is fine, but the machine is broken, the team has to stop being technicians and start being detectives. They have to figure out why it's broken.
This is where the famous H's and T's come into play. It's basically a checklist of problems you can actually fix. Is the pump empty from massive blood loss? Is the heart suffocating because there's no oxygen? Is it being physically squeezed shut by fluid around it, a condition called tamponade, or is it blocked by a huge blood clot? Finding and fixing one of these is often the only way to get the patient back.
So when you put all of this together, you start to see that ACLS isn't just a random list of steps. It is a beautiful, logical system designed to diagnose and solve a catastrophic engineering failure, all while under the most intense pressure you can possibly imagine.
And you know, that logical system is always getting better. The classic chain of survival, those core steps for responding, has now officially been updated to include a sixth crucial link: recovery. And this is huge. It's this formal acknowledgement that saving a life doesn't end when you get a pulse back. It's about helping the person get back to a meaningful life.
Which leads us with the ultimate question that's really guiding the future of resuscitation science. You see, it's one thing to get the engine running again. That's an amazing feat of engineering. But the next great frontier is figuring out how we protect and heal the most important part of the entire machine, the driver.